Hi everyone and welcome back. As I continue my review of The Prisoner in the preferred episodes that I view The Prisoner. So let's get started. Checkmate. Well, this one sums it up in the title. So it starts off with Rover doing his rounds in the village. Everybody stops still when Rover growls as he goes around the village. But one old gentleman who walks right past Rover doesn't react to him. And number 6 has observed this. And number 6 participates in a game of chess as a chess piece on a human chessboard. He is the Queen's pawn. The game goes along steadily until the Rook. The Rook makes an illegal move. He moves by himself without being told. Oh dear. And promptly the Rook is removed from the board and taken to the hospital. So the game of chess ends. Number 6 is speaking to the old gentleman, and he discovers with the conversation he has with him, there could be a way to identify prisoners from guardians. Interesting. Anyway, the following day, number 2 meets up with number 6, invites him to a trip to the hospital to see how the Rook's getting on. Well, the Rook's been subjected to a number of tests. One of these, which number 6 observes, is Pavlov's test with dogs. The Rook has been dehydrated. He wants water. He goes to a water dispenser and gets electric shock. The others don't serve any water. And a voice comes on and says, "Go to the blue dispenser. You have nothing to fear." Of course, he does fear it because he's just been given an electric shock. And eventually he does get water from it. And he's then re-released. So everything seems to be like a normal day in the village. The supervisor reports to number 2 that number 6 and the Rook are getting rather friendly. But number 2 feels that number 6 will not learn anything from him, so don't panic about it. Now, at this point, number 6 is now going around the village on a recruitment drive to separate prisoners from guardians. And he selects a number of other prisoners. This goes unnoticed, of course, for a while. But, of course, the village authorities don't miss much. And they see what looks like an illegal meeting taking place. They're getting all uppity, particularly the supervisor. And so they decide to keep an eye on number 6, bring him in for some tests, and then just release him, but keeping a close eye on him. Meanwhile, the Queen has also been brought to the hospital, undergone some interesting treatment. She's now acting like an alarm signal to the village authorities because she's chasing around number 6 because she's in love with him. Well, she's been programmed to be. And she's acting like an alarm signal to them, which to number 2, good. We got number 6 under control. Well, that's what he thinks anyway. Meanwhile, now number 6 has identified a number of prisoners as an escape team. He and the Rook start plunging the village for electrical stuff and other items. The Rook is an electronics expert. So they gather up stuff for the big break. Number 6, confronts the Queen, who's been following him around all day and in the evening. He discovers a locket round her. It's a transmitter of some sort, and he gives it to the Rook. The Rook says, "This is a perfect piece of electrical appliance, and it's all he needs to complete his transmitter. So the team is assembled, the transmitter is ready, and the big break is on its way. So number 6 puts out the code word to the escape team. The escape attempt is on. So the object is to send out a false transmission of a aircraft that's in trouble and it's about to crash. And fortunately for number 6, it's picked up. It's picked up by MS Poloska. And he's doing the usual scrunching paper, just to make it, authentic, because you get that sort of thing. And so, yeah, obviously the supervisor has picked this up and has informed number 2 about the transmission. Number 2 says leave it to the Poloska. And so they leave it at that. So they're not too bothered themselves. Rook goes out to sea on the raft so he can meet up with Poloska. Meanwhile, number 6 meets up with the rest of the escape team. Their first objective, obviously, is to confront number 2. But before confronting number 2, there's a bit of a punch-up in the tower, because the Guardians are a little bit nervy and there's a searchlight on, which they obviously knock out. So once that's achieved, number 6 and the escape team enter number 2's dome and take over the control of it, sort of, let's say. They tie up number 2, and then suddenly the signal goes dead. The other team members, what's going on? They're getting very worried, agitated. Number 6 says, stay here, watch him, referring to number 2. I'll go investigate. And number 6 heads out down to the beach area, and he discovers the raft is empty. No one's on it. Then he sees the Poloska in the distance. He's sort of dithering around. Should I go back to the others? Should I just do it? Go ahead and eventually he does. He goes all out for himself. He's basically saying nuts to them, and he's picked up by the Poloska. But unfortunately for number 6, the Poloska is part of the village security, and he's confronted by number 2 on the monitor. And then suddenly the Rook appears on the monitor. The Rook used number 6's own test against him and came to the conclusion that number 6 was a Guardian. Number 2 tells the Rook, you can't be maligning number 6. The Rook then realises number 6 was indeed a prisoner. So he has a bit of a punch-up with the crew, number 6. And of course, the usual happens. He tries to take control of the boat. He's completely locked out. And it's all over for number 6. It really is. And just to make sure it's all over, yes, number 2 has unleashed Rover, who then pops up in the ocean and starts heading towards the Poloska, which number 6 has no control over whatsoever. And Rover basically pushes the Poloska back to the village. So the great escape attempt by number 6 and his fellow prisoners has failed. So there you go, folks. So, that's Checkmate. So, I'll be now moving on to my final thoughts on this particular episode. It's a very good episode, Checkmate. It really is. And it's clearly still showing number 6 has been in the village for, say up to a period of about 6 months now. So, without further ado, I'm going to be moving on to my final thoughts on this one. Right, so here we go, my final thoughts on Checkmate. Now, obviously, number 6 wants out the village, we all know that. And clearly, he seems to understood that not everyone in the village walking around is a prisoner, but he doesn't know how to separate prisoner from guardian until he has that friendly chat with the chess master. And basically that aids number 6. But unfortunately, in choosing his escape team, choosing the Rook, who is indeed a prisoner, but he's been there a lot longer than number 6, and has been caught out a number of times by the village authorities, is a weak link in his team. But here's the problem. He needs the Rook because the Rook is an electronics expert. He needs him to construct this rudimentary transmitter to pull in anybody outside the village. Obviously, a boat, it probably, yes, let's say a boat. It's got to be a boat in it. So he needs him, but he doesn't realise that he's a weak link. And of course, his authority over the Rook obviously, by the time of the night of the escape, is thinking to himself, hang on, I've probably been down this road before, and I'm just about to be caught out. No, I'm going to go scampering off to number 2. And that's what he does. Yeah, so he's a weak link in that escape team, no doubt about it. But nevertheless, number 6 needed him. So it's interesting episode that for the very first time, number 6 has worked out a way of separating prisoner from guardian. He's got his team, they're all prisoners. But, as I say, the Rook is the weak link. And it doesn't help that the village authorities have programmed the Queen to chase him around, saying, I'm in love with you, acting as like an alarm bell for them. So that just shows another method they are using to keep an eye on number 6. Yeah, so I think this is the only time number 6 trusts fellow prisoners. Once he's identified them as a fellow prisoner, I think this is the only time he trusts them. And then after that, he doesn't. He's very skeptical of them. Very, very skeptical. There's no doubt about it. Yes, it was a good attempt by number 6. There's no doubt about it. Once he separated prisoner from guardian, got his escape team together, well thought out plan, but unfortunately, the weak link was the Rook. And that was so unfortunate for number 6, who came close to possibly escaping. And on that note, I will let you all decide what will be my next episode I'll be reviewing. And on that note, be seeing you.